New year, new version of Ionic, Ionic 6. Welcome to another codeswag video. In this episode, we're gonna take a look at the new features that ship with the latest version of Ionic framework, Ionic 6. Please like and subscribe and click on the bell icon so that you get the latest Ionic tutorials, news, and other software development videos. Ionic 6 brings a lot of exciting changes and new features. Here is a brief summary of what version 6 has in store for us. You can jump to any section you want using the timestamps in the description below. So without further ado, let's get started. Ionic 6 brings lots of new and exciting components, as well as updates to existing components. Ionic 6 brings some awesome new components, my favorite of which is the ion-accordion. An accordion is a very common component used to neatly organize large amounts of content in an easy to understand manner. It's really time consuming to build this manually, so this is a very welcome addition to the Ionic framework. The new ion-accordion comes with smooth transitions, keyboard support, and reduced motion accessibility. This is sure to save you hundreds of development and maintenance hours. The second new component in Ionic 6 is ion-breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs provide context to users regarding where they are in your application and how they got there. This component can be themed with custom CSS, and it can also be collapsed. This is another common feature in modern applications, and having it come out of the box with Ionic framework will be sure to save lots of precious developer time. One of the most significant component updates in Ionic 6 is the new ion-datetime component. Ion-datetime has been completely revamped to use the latest calendar picker styles on iOS and Android. Datetime has also improved functionality on desktop devices with full keyboard support and screen reader integration for selecting dates. Ion-datetime now also looks at the language and region settings on a device so that it is presented in a format which is familiar for each user. Ion-modal has got some significant updates in Ionic 6, one of which is the new bottom sheet feature. Using ion-modal, developers can create dynamic sheets that snap to breakpoints and overlay interactive content like the map that you see on your screen. Ion-modal has been further revamped and can now be used declaratively inside application templates. This means developers can write ion-modal in their template and pass in a component to show. New is open, and trigger properties have also been added. These properties allow developers to present and dismiss modals with less code. For React and Vue developers, this change means that getting a reference to ion-modal will return the actual modal component rather than a placeholder element, as has been the case in Ionic 5. New material design styles have been added to the ion-select component. In addition, the Ionic team has also improved desktop support by adding keyboard interactions for selecting options. By using the popover interface with ion-select, developers can now create rich select experiences with ease. Ion-popover can now be used declaratively inside application templates. And it receives the same isOpen and isTrigger properties that ion-modal receives. The sizing and positioning options for the popover have been improved through the side, alignment, and size properties. These new features give developers control over how popovers are presented in their applications. Also, nested popover functionality has been added to Ionic. This is a powerful feature for building multi-layer drop-down menus in desktop applications. Nested popovers work with the new declarative syntax and integrates seamlessly with the trigger property. As part of the Material Design updates, new styles have been added to ion-item to better match the Material Design specification. Additionally, the Ionic team added new helper and error slots for better form validation. Phew! That's a lot of new and updated components. Next, we look at the new release cadence. With the release of Ionic 6, the Ionic team is adjusting their release schedule to better coincide with iOS and Android software releases. You can expect to see yearly major releases of Ionic moving forward. So, expect to see Ionic Framework version 7 in December 2022. Next, we look at the design changes mirroring the latest trends in Android and iOS. Ionic 6 brings quite a number of design changes. There's a new pull to refresh style, an updated toolbar theme, and new modal styles for iOS in dark mode. In addition, there is a new collapse option in both the Ion header and Ion footer components, allowing developers to hide the header and footer backgrounds until users begin to scroll. You can see these changes in the various illustrations showing on your screen. The input styles in Material Design mode have been updated to support new filled and outline variants. Error and helper text slots, in addition to a character counter, have also been added. Additionally, Ion Select has been revamped to use the latest Material Design styles with the popover interface. The next major update category we will look at is regarding performance and tooling updates. Ionic 6 ships with a new build of Ionic called the Custom Elements build. This build does not rely on stencils lazy loading and helps bundlers include only the components that you use in your application. This can reduce the overall size of your app. While the exact savings will vary from application to application, the Ionic team is pretty confident that most apps will see bundle size reductions with this change. The Custom Elements build is available immediately in Ionic React and Ionic Vue and will be rolled out in Ionic Angular in a future release. As an added bonus with regards to tooling, Ionic 6 is usable with tools such as Vite, Rollup, and ESBuild, giving developers even more options for building their apps. Ionic Vue developers are gonna love the new Vue routing features that ship with Ionic 6. Vue.js developers have a new way of navigating in Ionic Vue using the useIonRouter injectable. This new feature lets developers use the Vue router while retraining. This new feature lets developers use the Vue router while retaining control over page transitions. In prior versions of Ionic, using the Vue router meant losing control over page transitions. This trade-off is a thing of the past in version 6 of Ionic Framework. Let's take a look at some changes concerning platform detection. New platform detection customization options have been added in Ionic 6. These options help developers account for devices that do not always neatly fall into the platform buckets that Ionic has pre-configured. Using this feature, developers can customize how platforms in Ionic are set to account for other devices. This change was necessitated by issues caused because the default desktop function would return false for desktop systems that have touchscreens and other edge cases. Finally, let's take a look at the TypeScript language improvements introduced in Ionic 6. In Ionic 5, calling methods on the target of a custom event would yield TypeScript errors unless developers typecast the target. This was common when calling event.target.complete method on an IonInfiniteScroll component. Ionic 6 has TypeScript interfaces that have this target correctly typed out of the box. These custom event interfaces can be found in the documentation for each Ionic component that emits an event. So, for example, the interface for IonInfiniteScroll can be found in the InfiniteScroll documentation. While this release of Ionic does bring breaking changes, these have been kept to a minimum. Ionic 6 has fewer breaking changes than both the previous Ionic 4 and Ionic 5 releases. See the migration guide for instructions on how to upgrade your app to Ionic 6, and also watch out for a future video coming out soon where we're gonna walk you through this migration process. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to codeswag for more Ionic 6 tutorials. This year, we want to take this channel to the next level, and we're gonna be pumping out content like crazy. Making awesome apps with the awesome Ionic framework. You can support this endeavor by heading over to our website, codeswag.net, where you can buy awesome developer merch and also awesome tech gadgets. And you can also become a patron on Patreon and enjoy awesome perks such as getting early access to our content and other privileges. See you in the next tutorial. Thank you very much for watching this video. Have an awesome new year.